Welcome to the Craft of Coaching podcast, where we dive into what it truly takes to become a skilled, confident life coach. I'm your host, Kate, head of the CLCC or Credentialed Life Coach Collective, an ICF accredited Level 1 coach training program. We combine courage, coaching, and community to offer you more than just a training program, but a life-changing experience where you use your own personal transformation as the learning ground for supporting your clients. On this podcast, we explore how you can use coaching skills to support your clients or expand your own growth, all grounded in evidence-based coaching practices. Learn more about our program and get free resources for becoming a life coach at teamclcc.com. And now, here's today's episode. Hi, everyone. I'm coming to you today in a different headspace than I normally am in for the Craft of Coaching podcast. And so I want to make sure I state that up front. My dad died. And he died after an unexpected fall at home. He's actually not totally sure. He lived alone, but he had some kind of fall at home, laid on the floor for a long time before help got to him, went into rhabdomyolysis and then sepsis, and then that made his kidneys shut down. And he had other comorbidities, pre-existing conditions that were causing all of this to be quite a strain on his body. And so I flew to Kansas City, Missouri, which is where I grew up, to be with him. And I was able to be with him for his final weeks. I was able to be with him when he died. And so today I'm going to talk about how you as a coach can support clients who are navigating grief and loss. And while the lens that I can bring to today's episode, and that's why I say it's a bit of a different episode or a different headspace, at least for me, is that I know that I'm speaking not just from a perspective of coaching best practice, research-driven coaching best practice, but also as somebody who's experienced it. But you might be supporting clients who are actually grieving a loss of some kind, and it might not even be the loss of a person. It could be the loss of a pet, which I don't know how other people feel about their pets, but my two beloved Chihuahuas they're like family to me. They're very, I would be grieving as if they were a human if something happened to them. I don't even like to think about the longevity of a pet. I don't like to think about how many years the average pet lives. I don't like to think about it. Your clients might be navigating the loss of a job. They might be navigating the loss of a marriage. They might be navigating grief that comes along with a wanted transition, but one that is still hard, like kids flying the nest, and suddenly your whole life is just different because you and of course you want your kids to get out there into the world when they're adults, but then you're left with a house and rhythms and habits and routines that are totally different, and it can feel disarming or jarring or what am I doing here? So today's episode is going to be about how you can support your clients through their grieving process. Now, the first thing that I want to say is that coaches have to walk an ethical line in supporting clients who are grieving, because on one hand, when people are grieving, it's fairly common for someone to say, what kind of support do you have? And somebody might be thinking of okay, I can get support from my mom. I can get support from my best friend. I can get support from my coach. And so absolutely, as a coach, you can be part of someone's support team for the grief that they are walking through. And at the same time, you do need to make sure that you are the right forms of support. I am getting support from one of my coaches. I mean, from both of my coaches technically, but I've had sessions with one of them. And that's fantastic. And that's the right amount of support that I need. But if I was going into a really serious depressive episode, I would need more support than coaching alone could provide. And so I want to just make sure that I state that coaches have to stay in their lane. This is something that we train our coaches in CLCC on, that you need to actually be able to recognize signs of dysregulation that are above and beyond what is normative. And with grief, things are so weird that defining what is normative might even be a challenge. Normative on a regular day, if somebody's crying multiple times a day, that's a red flag. But normative when you're grieving, crying several times a day, I think it's pretty normal. I cry several times a day. I've already cried a few times today, and yesterday, and the day before, and the day before that. So one of the things that I think is important is just that ethical consideration. So make sure that you understand that if you have a client who is grieving, crying several times a day, and also unable to get out of bed and go to work after a reasonable amount of time. Reasonable is different for everyone, of course. This is why this gets tricky. If they are not eating, if they are not sleeping, if they are completely isolating. These are all collective data points that point to a red flag that they need a referral to a therapist. Now, let's talk about what kind of support coaching can provide and the best way to approach that support. I'm actually going to start with the best way to approach support. It is very common for new and emerging coaches to feel like they need to, for a session to be successful, they need to have fixed the problem that the client is bringing. The client might state at the top of the session, I'm trying to figure out how to have a difficult conversation with my mother-in-law or with my boss at work. And then you as coach sit down with your client and the two of you figure out why the client's so triggered to have this conversation, why it's uncomfortable, what conversation would the client feel comfortable having. Let's role play a little bit about what you could say, all of that. And then some kind of commitment gets made around when are you going to have the conversation. But there's no timeline for grief. You can't wrap it up all neat and tidy like that. So the approach the coach needs to bring when a client is grieving something needs to come first from a place of, I'm with you in this for as long as it takes as a support person, but we're not solution seeking. I'm with you to support your way of being. I'm with you to normalize what you're feeling. I'm with you to remind you that the feelings of grief are very intense and very real, but they are not the full story. This is not how this will feel forever. But you are absolutely not going to work with a client to figure out grief in one session, and if they just flip their mindset to something more positive, then they're going to be fine. And in fact, I would say that that would be an incredibly damaging approach to come from. To come at grief and loss from a perspective of just think positive would be damaging to that client. It would cause client harm. And that's not to say that you want to go the complete opposite and be like, yep, it sucks and it's horrible and there's just no way out of it. No, it's a middle path. It's a path of, I'm so sorry this has happened and I know how hard this is. And I want you to know you're not alone in it. And I want you to know that I'm open to the way that you grieve, even if it's messy or even if it's complicated. I want to create our coaching sessions as a safe space for you to express your grief, your anger, your irrational thoughts. And I'm here with you in all of it. We're not going to fix it. I'm not going to try to push for a quote unquote fix. I'm going to support you being right here, right now. Now, those words that I just said, of course, feel free if you would like to take those exact words in some way and make them your own. But I think that's the gist of the message. It's I'm standing shoulder to shoulder with you, not I am going to help you navigate this in a way where you won't feel pain or loss. We're not going to pretend that that's the way we can go with this. So the approach you take as a coach is actually important here. And I think that that is the thing you need to lead with. So what are you doing on a call then to support a client who's going through grief? Well, first and foremost, you're there for the feelings. You're just there as they feel the feelings. And the feelings are not just sadness. Sometimes the feelings are anger. Sometimes the feelings are, the person telling you, I'm feeling really numb and dissociated and it's scaring me a little bit. Sometimes it's anxiety. So there's a whole range of things that your people might be going through that are beyond just grief. And the more you can give some normalcy to that, yeah, I got it. Yeah, feeling numb. That's a really, really normal thing to feel when you're going through a loss like you're going through right now. Whatever it is, validating that it's normal. One of the other things that we talk about in CLCC is how to do emotional process work. And it's something that in my Your Courageous Life podcast, I have episodes on processing challenging or big emotions. And the more tools that you have for processing your own personal emotions as a coach, the more you will have comfort with and capacity to hold space for your client's emotions. If I got a client who comes to me and they're crying the big ugly cry, I'm not scared of that at all. I'm so for real with you, not scared of it at all, because I've done the big ugly cry plenty of times, long before dad ever died. So the more that you can do that kind of work, the more prepared you actually are to support your clients. So this is a coaching presence competency, actually. Knowing how to manage your own emotions and regulate your own emotions teaches you a lot about how to support other people to simply be with theirs and not need to fix them. And that language is so important, not needing to fix them, because we don't want to pathologize emotion. And we live in a culture that really does pathologize emotion, that really does see anger, sadness, irrational thoughts, things like that as, get it together. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, things like that. So I see coaching sessions as a space where somebody could experience the reality of their pain in whatever way it's coming up for them. And then they would be supported in a coaching session for that to simply be normal. You might also want to share with your clients that selectively shutting down emotion isn't really a great long-term strategy. So this is coming from the work of Dr. Brené Brown. She's said in many talks she's given that you cannot selectively shut down emotion. You can't shut down grief without also shutting down joy. You can't shut down anger. You can't shut down sadness. You can't shut down anxiety. You can't shut down just one emotion without it clamping down on other emotions. So if the client's desire is to actually get back to a place where they feel joyful again, or if the client is saying these feelings are really intense, I need some alleviation from how intense they feel. Holding space for someone to feel the feelings fully is actually a pathway to them feeling better. And I would just say that for my own part, as I navigate the grieving process with my dad, when the tears come up, when the sadness comes up, I'm sitting with it and I'm crying. And sometimes it's super awkward. Sometimes I'm at the grocery store and that's when it comes up. And I don't mean that I fall to my knees in the grocery store bawling, but the little tears start leaking around the sides of my eyes. And I just kind of pause and take a couple deep breaths and feel it and then wipe it away. And I've actually put my stuff down and gone out to my car and had a good cry in my car and then gotten back up and gone out to the grocery store again. So the more that you can normalize the expression of grief and help your clients to find ways to do it in a container that doesn't harm others, certainly, the better. So emotional regulation techniques like that you can support a client around would be anything from crying on the phone to, if maybe they're angry, grabbing a towel or a pillow and literally putting the phone down for a second, but you're still in the session, and screaming into that towel or that pillow. And these are things that I have done and supported clients with over the years. And these are things I've been supported around whenever I've had strong emotion come up over the years from coaches. So emotions are not pathology. Emotions are not pathology. Another thing that you can support your clients who are navigating grief and loss around is making sure that they construct their support system. So earlier I mentioned that it's a common question for people to ask someone who's going through it, what's your support system like? But you as a coach can ask that question too. Support systems are not just the people who know your clients really, really well. Support systems are the people at the gym who notice if they aren't showing up at the gym for the 4:30 class. And that doesn't mean that those people who notice if you're gone at the gym or notice if your client is gone from the gym for the 4:30 class are going to be the people that you share your deepest, hardest moments of grief with. You're not necessarily pushing your client to like emote with everybody in their lives, but there are support structures that can be put into place. Habits, routines. Ask, how are you sleeping? Ask, what are you doing around appetite? Like I will share that something that's shifted for me in a big way since my father's passing is my appetite has just flown the building. It's gone. And I'm literally just having to like make myself eat things at prescribed times as if I'm taking a medication at a set time because I know I need to eat, but I'm just not particularly hungry for anything the last couple weeks. And that's fine. But if I didn't have someone already asking me, hey, how are you eating? How's appetite going? It would be good to have a coach going, make sure you're eating. What are you eating? How often are you eating? What are you doing on the days when you don't feel like eating? Are you eating anyway because you know that that's something that's good for you? Next, I think one of the greatest things that coaching can provide a client navigating grief and loss is this idea that I've had called small steps. And I don't mean an idea I've had as in this is so very, very novel, but a thought that it keeps occurring to me over and over these past few weeks is small steps, small steps, small steps. And really just taking everything down to bite-sized. I don't need to get it all done. I'll just get a corner of it done. Small steps, because to be in the experience of grief is to sort of be straddling two worlds. The world that was life as you knew it before the thing happened, and the world that is on the other side, things have happened, but I don't quite know how to exist in either world anymore. And that there's this place of being kind of in flux. It feels very overwhelming to try to do big things. And just at least speaking to the experience of someone dying even after someone dies, I mean, it's ridiculous how much paperwork there is. Like there's all these things that have to be done. And it's a lot to track. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to get it all done today. I'm just going to do a little bit. And just these little small steps of moving into the new world that your client inhabits. You helping them to brainstorm what that could be takes a huge load off of their shoulders. I would say one of the best ways that anyone in my life could support me right now would be to look around at what I have on my plate and things I need to do and just go get those things done for me. Like, if only I could do that with the paperwork. But I am a next of kin, so no, a lot of it does need to be me. But just the little things of someone looking around and going, oh, would you like me to do this for you? How are you doing? The little things become the big things. So small steps, small steps, small steps. How can you as a coach support your client to take just the tiny steps? Because the tiny steps matter. Speaking of small steps, I think that after someone dies, it's probably not a good time to be making really wild, big decisions. So another way that you also can support your clients, because some clients, they're the opposite of the small step. It's like grief, loss, big, major thing happening has them feel like, oh my God, like my life just got blown up. So I might as well marry someone that I just met next week. I mean, this is a real thing. This happens. Or go buy a brand new sports car, or that's it, I'm moving to a new city. Like, this is actually the time when they might need you in their back pocket to remind them, like, hey, you don't have to make any big decisions right now. And in fact, it might not be the best time to make a super big decision. Everybody's different, but I will just put that out there. Last thing, I did a podcast episode. I recorded one earlier today for my other podcast, the Your Courageous Life podcast. And that podcast episode I actually did on what happened with my dad and weird things I'm going through with grief and what I'm doing to navigate all of that. And one of the things that I shared in that podcast is something that I think it would be really helpful for a coach to share with their clients who are going through grief and loss. And it's this: it feels weird because it is weird. It feels weird because it is weird. There's this whole landscape of thoughts that I have going through grief that just sound really weird in my head. Like, I had a thought the other day that my dad just shouldn't have died. Like, it just shouldn't have happened. And I could hear how nonsensical that thought was at the same time that I was even having it. Because guess what? We're all headed to the same destination here, myself included. But like, there's just some part of me that, like, my dad, it just somehow should not have happened to. And it's an irrational thought. And it's a weird thought. And it's a weird thought because this is weird. It's just weird. So the more that you can help your clients to just go with it when things are weird, when they don't feel like they can quite relate to other people in the same way, when going to the grocery store feels like it takes all the energy they had that day, when they're irrationally angry at small inconveniences. And then when they come to you in a session and they say things like, oh, I feel so bad because I got so mad at this person over something small and stupid, and now I feel like I'm an asshole and all that. You get to be the person to remind them that there's no playbook for this. There's no movie that shows us how this goes. And even if there was, that would be the movie for one segment of the population's experience, and there would need to be some other movie for everybody else's experience, because it's all different for everybody. There's no way to know how to navigate this in any concrete step-by-step way. So having you as coach be the person reminding a client who's really in it, hey, it feels weird because it is weird, could be one of the kindest things that you could offer. Now, all of that having been said, I want to speak to check-ins. How often should you as a coach check in? I would say it's highly contextual and dependent on the client and the rapport you have with them. If it is a client you're extremely close to and have worked with quite a lot, I honestly would say 2 or 3 times a week, just a short text check-in if your client has experienced a significant loss is completely appropriate, especially if you know that they are really, really in it. And these check-ins can be so short. It can just be as simple as, hey, just wanted to let you know that I'm thinking of you today. Quick text, that's all. It doesn't have to invite them to have a session. It doesn't have to, go into a whole thing. It can just be, hey, just wanted to let you know I was thinking of you. Wanted to let you know that I know this is hard, and I'm looking forward to our next session so that we can talk further. That's it. I would say in the immediate weeks after a significant loss, especially if your client is struggling, a couple times a week is entirely appropriate. And then I would say it can taper a little bit after that. But I would say, as somebody who is navigating the experience of grief, one of the most challenging parts of it, actually, in some ways, almost as challenging as actually losing my parent, is realizing that there are people who aren't checking in, and they are good people who probably have a whole host of reasons for why they aren't checking in. And those reasons probably have to do with everything from thinking that I'm just fine because I'm not calling them and that I would call them if I wasn't fine, to their own discomfort with losing their own parents or with grief in general. I don't know why it is. I will just tell you that the silence hurts more than if someone was saying the wrong things. Not checking in at all or not checking in enough, I think is harder for people than somebody potentially checking in too much. So these are my thoughts on it as somebody who has supported clients through grief and loss, and also now someone who is on the other side of that and being supported through grief and loss. There's no playbook. It's weird. It's strange. And it's also a normal part of being a human. And it's hard to suffer and it's hard to feel the loss, but it is a normal part of being human. And I don't say that as a, well, you get what you get. It's a normal part of being human. I say that from the perspective of knowing that the incredible love and connection that I felt to my father is also in part reflected in the feeling of grief, in the feelings of loss. And so that is how I will end today's episode. And I hope that if you are navigating grief and loss, that you are finding support and just know that you're not in it alone. All right, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Before you go, would you help us out and take a moment to give us a rating in iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you're listening? It really helps us get the word out to other listeners. And before you go today, would you like free resources to support your coaching journey? Whether you're considering becoming a coach or you want advanced coach skills training, access our coaching resource library at teamclcc.com. Again, that's teamclcc.com. Can't wait to connect with you. And again, thanks for listening.